Happy Halloween to all my fellow weirdos, returning weirdos, welcome back. New weirdos, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you like what you see or hear on today's video, please don't hesitate to hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot. Now this video is going to be a little different than what I usually do on this channel. I'm not going to be like trying to communicate with any of my haunted objects or basically any dead people. Instead, I'm going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do on this channel for a while, and that is read real experiences of the paranormal from people I know and people I don't. And luckily, I put a post out on social media and yeah, people responded. So let's get to it. Now in this chest, yes, it's metal, are the stories that I've received. And I'm going to assume that they're all true. Because what else can you do, right? Alright, so let's open this bad boy. Oh, and I got this chest from an antique shop, so it could be haunted. I just haven't really felt the need to investigate it yet. Hope I'm not like opening Pandora's box or some shit. Okay. I know that was pretty anticlimactic. The old tablet. See, it says not dead yet. Alright. Let's see. The first story of the evening comes from Tim. Tim wrote, "When I was younger, I had a few experiences while visiting my grandparents. My grandmother was telling me about a black shadow that came in from her kitchen windows." What? "One day I was in the living room sitting on the couch, and as I walked by going to the bathroom, it grabbed a hold of my leg. I could feel its fingers on my skin and all energy taken from me, leaving my body shaking. Oh, that doesn't sound good at all." Grandma then came into the room, looked in that direction, and said, "Let him go." "You go, Grandma. That's what's up. Don't mess with Grandma. She'll cut a bitch." Suddenly, my energy came back, and I was able to move again. Okay. Negative experience, but turned positive thanks to, a kick-ass granny. There we go. Tim sent another story. "I was staying with a friend of the family for a few days, and I was offered one of their upstairs rooms. So after fishing in their pond, when I say finishing, that just sounds dirty. Anyway, after fishing in their pond and it getting late, I grabbed my bag and headed to the room I was offered. As I got 4 steps away from the top step, something stopped me and gave me the feeling, 'I don't know you and you are not welcome. Go back downstairs.' Ugh. And so I did. That night, I don't blame me, I would have too. So I did. That night, laying on the couch, I heard things moving, and everyone was asleep in the house. I asked the next morning, and apparently that home used to be the home of a friend of the dad's growing up, and he died in a wreck, and his spirit was upstairs. Wow. I mean, I just got like chills. Like, I'm used to getting chills in here. Like, granted, there's a fan blowing on me, but thank you for sending those stories in, Tim. Our next story is from Zoe, and she writes, last year, my friends and I were bored and decided to go to the cemetery in downtown Greenville. People after my own heart. We bought one of those cheap ghost apps as a joke, not thinking anything of it, until we started asking personal questions that no one knew. We asked how my friend's mom died and what her name was, and the app somehow said it. We got scared and left. A few days after that, we decided to go on this adventure. We started off with going to Cry Baby Bridge in Anderson. I've actually heard of that bridge. It seems like a cool place to visit, but I'm thinking probably not for you right now. We didn't see or hear anything, but after we left, we saw what looked like baby handprints on the car. After we leave there and go to this abandoned house, sorry, I lost my place. I'm just picturing all this. We used to pass by all the time. Once we get there, we all start feeling very weird. We are just looking around and we see something that looked like it was running towards us. Oh my god. Oh. But then it just disappeared. Zoe, get the fuck out of there. Y'all just get the fuck out. Excuse my language. GTFO. Ugh. We quickly leave, and when turning out, I swear I saw what looked like a woman or something, but it could have just been a deer. After we left the house, we went to this church just to calm down before getting back on the road. But while we were there, my friend decides to get on the Ouija board app. Oh no. I did not have any part of it. Good girl. Other than being in the car. I didn't talk to the Ouija or anything. But while my friend was, she asked a question and an answer with, yes, Zoe. It knows your name. So then I start freaking out and asked who was talking to us. The app replied with Ethel. That's random. I got scared and told them to take me home. After that, we started going to haunted and abandoned places all the time. We would always hear things and kind of see things, but nothing crazy really happened until we went to Hell's Gate in Spartanburg. Okay. I could see how, those experiences would entice you to want to get into, exploring more with the paranormal. Alright. I get it. I'd probably be the same way if I wasn't already exploring with the paranormal. We walked around the whole cemetery and even the back of it in the woods. We saw what looked like a sacrifice that happened sometime before. Again, get the fuck out of that place. Anything with demons and sacrifices, no. No, 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 no. Mm-mm. We also saw a field where apparently the kids buried there would play. But anyways, other than the sacrifice area, we really didn't see much. But we did hear what sounded like kids' laughter. They say that usually if you hear children laughter or noises of children and there are no actual children around, there's usually a safe bet it's not really a child. I mean, there are exceptions, obviously. I have child spirits connected to these dolls, and they've confirmed to be children. But a lot of times it's dark entities that are masquerading as children to get you to open up and trust them. Just putting that out there. Anyways, until we started looking at the graves, and that was when we found the gravestone with Ethel's name on it. Holy shit. And ever since we saw Ethel, we haven't had anything weird go on. So it was kind of like full circle. I don't know why I drew the circle, but y'all know what a circle looks like. Okay. Thank you, Zoe, for sending in those tales. Wow. Our next story comes from Scott. It's a little shorter. I've got a paranormal story from when I was about 3. My mom would often hear me talking to what she assumed was myself in my bedroom alone. One day, she came in to check on me, and I was sat on my bed, facing the wall, talking. When she asked me who I was talking to, I replied, the blue people that live inside the walls. Like Scott didn't write anymore. Like that was it. And I know this guy, so he's alright. But those blue people, I wonder what the story is with them. That's just no. I hope that y'all are enjoying these tales. I know that I am. I want to hear your comments, your reactions. So please leave them in the comment section below this video. And heck, if you have a story or an experience you want to share, email me at huggieshauntings@gmail.com. Alright. Our next story is from Devin. And he writes, hello, I'd like to tell you about a house I lived in last year. I lived in this house with my now ex-girlfriend and her family. The only one that really seemed to notice anything paranormal, he wore that in quotes, was my girlfriend and I. The entire time we lived in this house, she wouldn't sleep in her own room because she felt a dark presence in there that was so overwhelming she couldn't stay for more than 5 minutes. Well, good. The girl she knew when to get the fuck out. Again, excuse my French. We both experienced hearing mimics. I saw shadows walking out of doorways. There was one time I was taking photos of the darkness, and it shot up the stairs. Yeah, that's whenever I would have just I would have put the camera down and just peace. At the top of the stairs, which led to my girlfriend's room, well, ex-girlfriend's room, was what I believe to be a mist-like anomaly of some sort. Part of me wants to say it was in fact an apparition, but I'm not 100% sure. The house may or may not have been haunted, but it was definitely creepy. Devin, dude, that house was haunted AF. I think whatever you were seeing or y'all were experiencing was legit paranormal, and it was probably having fun, messing with y'all. So, yeah. I mean, every now and then, one of these guys, girls, one of them will get a wild hair up their butt, and I'll hear a disembodied voice somewhere, or I'll see a door shut, something will be missing, and then strangely return somewhere else. This whole, living with the paranormal. But I'm just glad that, everything worked out, well, for the most part, and that, it didn't seem to escalate. Unless it did. If it did, please let me know. Alright. Our next story comes from Hallie, or Haley. I hope I'm one of those is correct. It's spelled Hali. So I'm gonna say Hallie. But if it's Haley, then I apologize. And she writes, I had just moved away for college, and my dad was visiting for my birthday. It was mid-September, and he suggested we go antique shopping for vintage Halloween decorations. Again, people after my own heart. I love antique shopping. Mostly because it's probably about 60% chance that it's haunted. And I love haunted shit. Clearly. Anyways, we hit up this tiny antique shop in my tiny college town. The place was weird. It was 1 story on the outside, but 3 inside, if you included the basement. An antique shop with a basement. Ugh. It was wall-to-wall stuff, just piled into the ceiling. If you followed the path on the floor, you would go upstairs, then downstairs to the basement, and back upstairs to the main floor. I remember we kept getting separated, and every time we did, I would briefly forget what floor I was on. For me, that description itself kind of reminds me of if I was trapped in an episode of Hoarders. Just there's stuff everywhere, no way out. I'm sorry, that's what I made me think of. Alright. Let's see. I remember we kept getting separated, and every time we did, I would briefly forget what floor I was on. We shopped for a long time while before I found it. We shopped for a long while before I found it. A huge glass case, almost like a coffin in Snow White. That coffin was pretty. It was padlocked shut, and inside sat a ventriloquist dummy. Hallie. Have you seen Goosebumps? Slappy? Have you seen Dead Silence? Nothing good usually comes from, random ventriloquist dummies. Especially ones found at an antique shop. I'm just kidding. I most likely would have wanted it to. Pristine condition. I had always wanted one. It didn't have a tag or price anywhere I could find. On my college student budget, I assumed it was out of my price range and moved on. Excitedly, after showing my dad, unbeknownst to me, my father immediately asked the front desk for a price, and he bought it. I can't remember exactly what he paid, but it was less than 20. Hey, there you go. Antique, go. I remember him telling me it's probably just been collecting dust for a while. They seemed happy to be rid of it. I mean, maybe it was causing trouble in that antique shop, and they were like, "Here, take it." I took it home and proudly sat it in a rocking chair in my living room. The perfect decoration. Okay, I would have done the same, I'm going to admit. Content with my find and none the wiser, I went on with my life as usual. As the days went by, my friends visited, each with their own jokes or cruel remarks about the dummy. I'll also place in. Each with their own jokes or cruel remarks about my creepy dummy. Some even began to say that they were seeing it in their nightmares. I myself began to have nightmares of a different sort. I dreamt of my death over and over, always different. Always terrifying. Some days I'd come out of my bedroom to find him slumped over. I'd lovingly sit him back up and chalk it up to nothing. But it kept happening, more and more often. I woke up with bruises. Holy shit. I began to lose sleep. One night, after watching a movie, I fell asleep on my couch. In the late hours of the night, I awoke to a sound that I can still hear in my head to this day. A click. So specific, so clear. The sound of a ventriloquist dummy's mouth snapping shut. Another sound. There's really no dictating that sound aside from getting a dummy and, I flung myself up on the couch, and in the blue glow of the TV, I saw it laying in the floor. Yeah. I honestly don't know what I'd do in that situation. To be completely honest, I'd probably just set it back in the chair and say, "Not right now." But I never claimed to be sane. It was laying on the floor, nearly a foot from the chair. I can't remember how long I sat there staring. I turned on the light and grabbed the dummy. I sat him gently in the trunk at the end of my bed, and when it locked shut, I sighed with relief. Several nights later, I was awoken again, this time to the creak of the floor. There, standing in my bedroom doorway, was a shadow of a man. It nearly filled the door frame. I screamed. I yelled that I had a weapon and reached for my phone. Well, I guess the phone could be a weapon. In a split second, the shadow was gone. I called the police, but they never found any evidence that there was anyone in my home. Shortly thereafter, the dummy went to a new home, and my nightmares stopped. But there are some nights when I'm startled awake where I still feel like I can hear that quick, loud click. I'm just going to take a minute to process that. Now, I mean, maybe since he put his vessel in the trunk, he was like, okay, we're going to play it this way, and he decided to manifest another way. I mean, I'm not sure if Hallie ever, I'm not sure if she definitely determined if it was evil. I'm assuming with other people having nightmares about it, that there was a strong chance that it could have been dark and malicious. Yeah, I'm I'm glad you got that dummy out of your house. Like for real. Ugh. I kind of want to like go and put my slappy dummy like from Goosebumps. Kind of want to put him somewhere, where I don't hear his mouth shut randomly. Oh, that was the trunk. It's on the floor. I had to stretch my leg. All right. The next story. I don't know why I felt like I was gonna like bark or something for a second. What the fuck? Our next experience. Let's go with it. The next one comes from Stacy. She writes, "Hi, I used to live in Ashe County, North Carolina, and there are several places there that I have experienced the paranormal. The first was at the old hospital where a little girl has been seen skipping down the hallways and lights would turn on and off with no electricity. Yeah, I don't, no, no, I don't mess with, I mean, if I was with a group, I'd go to an old hospital, of course, but I'm hoping she wasn't by herself, because that's a big no for me. I'll go into a haunted house by myself all day long, but hospitals, no. Mm-mm. Not by myself." The second was at the old Lansing school. This school is haunted by several spirits, and that school had so much going on that I could go on for 15 minutes talking about my experiences. And the last was the old courthouse upstairs where the old courtroom is, still pretty much intact. I have heard a man clearing his throat, crying, and heard the gunshot that killed a black man in the courthouse. Well, that escalated real quickly. The courthouse at times smells like cigar smoke, and if you are lucky or unlucky, you can still hear the phones ringing and the gavel. Oh, y'all, sorry. It's been a long day, so I'm I'm seeing words on top of other words. And the gavel, like a judge's gavel, where there is no explanation because no one else is in the building. I am not a paranormal investigator, but I am an empath. And there are several other places I didn't want to be there after stepping foot in the threshold. I have been an empath since I was in preschool, and recently I have honed in on the ability to speak with spirits very carefully." Okay. She's being careful. She has a gift. That's pretty cool. I'll probably have to get back in touch with her because, like, I want her to be more in depth with these experiences. All right. Our next story comes from Jessica. It says, "Hey, I saw your post requesting paranormal stories. I've got a couple from back around 2007, 2008, when I'd visit my parents while they were stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas. A few things to know about Fort Riley. Every single building on the post is built out of limestone and is said to be extremely haunted." Sounds like my kind of place. "The post was heavily impacted by the cholera epidemic in 1866, as well as numerous Native American raids. Many of the officers' homes were connected via a tunnel system that has since been closed off. But I've always been told there were a way for families to hide or escape if and when Native Americans attacked. I've personally seen the archways in my parents' basement They were bricked up. None of my experiences were especially scary, but definitely disturbing. One more, on more, sorry, on more than one occasion, the entire house would smell of breakfast cooking. Again, sounds like my kind of place, you know. Big guy likes some breakfast. When clearly there was nobody cooking anything at all. My mother came downstairs one morning to find every cabinet door wide open and every drawer pulled out. I keep picturing that scene from Paranormal Activity 2, like where the cabinets and everything just swings open when she's alone in the kitchen. Damn. She'd speak to the spirits and ask them not to do that anymore, and they never did. Okay, they're respectful. Okay. Often, when taking laundry to the basement, the door would close itself behind me. That's the start of every bad situation in a horror movie if I've ever seen one. I started thanking the spirits out loud for closing the door, mostly to comfort myself. I would too, girl, I would too. It continued happening, so I'd force my dog to go down there with me, although she'd always leave me as soon as we got to the bottom of the stairs. Yeah, she was like, no, screw this, bye. I always felt like I was being watched and never stayed in the basement longer than I needed to. The basement itself was a series of 4 large rooms and one smaller closet without a door. That just sounds crazy. I'm living for that basement, actually. One day, I was helping my mom retrieve some china from this closet, and as we stepped in, our feet splashed in about an inch of water. Ugh. Completely contained in that little room, we searched and searched to find the source of the water with no luck. Several nights, I was up late and alone. A music box would spontaneously play its lullaby, the full tune, not just a few notes. Perhaps the spirits were telling me to go to sleep. And, you know, you should have listened. I mean, I don't know, honestly don't know how I'd react to that. My last experience occurred as my parents were moving out of the house and the inspector was doing their final walkthrough. Just after my parents had completed walking through the house themselves, my parents had completely emptied the house by this point. Time to go to my dad's next assignment. When the inspector finished and walked out of the house, he handed my parents my sister's Bible and a photo of the 2 of us and our 3rd sister. He said it was laying in the middle of the floor on the top level of the house, and the photo was placed on top of it. It hadn't been there just moments before, and nobody else had been inside. You ever get that feeling that you're being watched? I kind of want to know how they're feeling with all these stories that I'm reading right now. That could be an experiment they can try, like me reading them a spooky story and see if I can get some reaction out of them. Our next story comes from Chanel. In 1997, I was 15 years old and my parents decided to move. We had to wait a period of time before my new place would be ready. Before the new place would be ready. so we had to find somewhere to stay in the meantime. My mom's good friend and co-worker said we could stay the night in her rental property. So we moved in. It's great having friends. The very first night there, I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw three very distinct lights standing at the door, standing at the foot of my bed. Okay, so she's seen three lights standing at the foot of her bed. My first thought would be aliens. The lights were so elongated and it seemed to be bright but translucent. They shimmered but stayed within my sight. At first I thought it must be light shining in from the window above the bed. So I closed my eyes to try to go back to sleep. I'm unsure if I even went back to sleep, but the next time I opened my eyes, the lights were now beside me on the edge of the bed. I was paralyzed with fear. I don't know if it was because it was a new place or just an overactive imagination of a 15-year-old girl. But I quickly threw the blankets over my head and refused to look again, because everyone knows that bad things can get you once you cover up. At least, that's what I keep telling myself. I eventually dozed back off, and the next time I awoke, I could hear the shower running. I jumped up and ran to my parents' room. I told my mom everything, and she said, "When your dad gets in, tell your dad." When Dad finally came back in the room from taking a shower, I quickly told him as well. My dad looks at my mom and says, "Did you tell her?" My mom shakes her head no. Dad looks at me and says, "I saw the exact same thing in this room last night." Whoa, so it all visited the entire household, it sounds like. Later that afternoon, my mom came home and picked up my brother and I so we could meet my dad for dinner. Once we arrived back home, my parents started to go back to their room, but the door wouldn't open. My dad starts pushing into it hard, but it won't budge. So he says, "Come on," to my little brother. "I'm going to lift you into the window so you can open the door." My dad assumed he had just accidentally locked the door somehow. That makes sense. So we go outside and my dad lifts my little brother up to the window. My brother says, "Dad, the bed and dresser are in front of the door." Yeah, don't go in the house. Just don't. My dad, shocked, says, "That's impossible, son." He lowers my brother and he says to me, "Chanel, you look." What was he gonna be like? Oh, no. He raises me up, and sure enough, someone or something had took every bit of furniture in that room and shoved it all into the door from the inside of the room. My dad goes and finds the ladder in the building and brings it out so he can look. I just remember the fear in his voice as he is telling my mom, "There's no way this could be real." The window was painted shut, so Dad had to use a razor to cut the windowsill free. He climbed through and so did Mom, and they moved all the furniture back. That night, all four of us slept together, packed into the living room. And the next day, we rented a hotel and moved out. Hell yeah, you got the fuck out. Hell yeah. I mean, oof. Nope. Nope. I love the paranormal. I do. Let me just say that. But the minute an energy force is so strong and comes off so violent and negative, moving furniture and stuff of that magnitude, enough to block a doorway, yeah, no. You're dealing with something that means you harm. So, I'm glad you got the fuck out. I once lived in a haunted house. It wasn't frightening or scary. I just lived with a spirit. I was 30 something and a single mother with a 13 and a 3-year-old boys. We rented an older house in the older part of town that still had brick streets in Peoria, Illinois. I hope I'm saying that right. Peoria, Illinois. Strange things happened the whole time we were there. Like things that had been hung up, shooting off the walls, flying out and slamming back into the wall. In the middle of the night, it could sound like a gunshot. But things happen just every so often and nothing too scary. I call gunshots pretty scary. You know, that's just my opinion though. Kind of like just reminding us it was there. Well, listen, there are more subtle ways to do that. Just, FYI. Gunshots are a little extreme. Throwing things, again, a little extreme. Tap. Whisper. Don't start throwing shit. Especially, just don't. I actually had a feeling of being protected and watched over. Okay, this part I get. Because people think I'm kind of cuckoo for sleeping in a room with all these haunted dolls, but they actually comfort me, and it's not like I feel like I don't really feel it's not a whole sense of being protected. It's just if I was to hear something, which I have, then about 90% chance it's one of them. It gives me a peace of mind knowing that they're there and mystery solved pretty much. Let's see. But it hated anyone else coming over and acting up the whole time. It was kind of funny. A friend would be standing there talking and the house would be going nuts. Lights would be turning off and on. Appliances would be going on and off. All kinds of knocking noises going on. The friend would turn white face and say, "What was that?" I'd say, "Oh, it's just our ghost." "No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine." A few years later, when we moved out, I found out that the entire North End area, way back in the 17 and 1800s, was owned by one old man. He had 2 daughters and built 2 houses side by side for each of them, mirror images, mine and my next door neighbor's. Wow. I love stories that just, after everything, you learn, or the people who experienced all that then learn the cause, or what the cause, why, what the reason may be to why their house is haunted. I love that. It's like full circle. And again, I drew the circle. I don't know. Alright. Let's see, our next one. Let me find it. Alright. I'm not sure of this user's name, but they gave me permission to read a story about their haunted doll. And obviously, I love haunted dolls, even the mischievous ones. Okay, this is called Eliza's Story. Eliza made her presence known 5 or 6 years ago when she started paying visits on what was then short interactions, lasting a week or two, then no disturbances for months. This went on for a couple years until she showed up and became much more persistent and stepped up on her interactions, appearing as a shadow, running from one room to the next, knocking and tapping on objects, shaking the bed and waking me with her laughter. Okay, that's kind of, no. I don't want to be woke with laughter. No. I can't think of, no. No. I had no idea why the sudden elevation in activity, but it was harmless, and the energy in the house was high and positive. Alright. However, I was growing tired of being woken at night. I decided to ask if there was something I was supposed to do or something that she was wanting. I then had a very clear vision of what I was supposed to do. Build a vessel. The one pictured is the first doll I had ever. It's the form that she chose to reveal herself as. She's been with me ever since, and nearly all the nighttime issues have stopped. Nearly all. She literally is a clown and a goofball. And there's a photo. Okay, I got permission. This is Eliza. And if you're scared of clowns, turn away. Well. I actually love just the size of that doll. It's pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. Alright. Well, I think that wraps it up for all the stories that I received. But like I said, if you're watching this and you want me to read your stories on here, it doesn't just have to be for Halloween. Just send them to huggieshauntings@gmail.com. And I guess it's only fair for me to share a story now. Okay. A few months back, I think it was like in March or May, I woke up in the middle of the night and I sleep with, my dog, Chopper. Y'all seen him. He's my little cuddle buddy. And I wake up and I can only move like from this part up. Like this is all I can move. And I was sleeping. And I look over and at the foot of my bed, while still on the bed, I just see Chopper's tail wagging. And he's kind of looking like, someone's rubbing, his chin. And keep in mind, my room is pretty much dark as fuck. So my eyes were adjusting, and I see something peek out like this from around Chopper. And Chopper still, he's not acknowledging me. I'm like, Chopper, come on, like that. He's not acknowledging me, which is odd. And but once I see this shadow, like it was darker than the darkness itself, if that makes any sense at all. It just peeks out like that. And it was about the size or height of a child. And I have, a couple children's spirits here in, my collection. We have Pamela, and Kevin, and we have Sebastian. Jeremy. You know, I have some younger spirits. But at the time, all I had, children-wise, was Kevin and Pamela. So I'm pretty sure it was one of them. Almost 100% sure. I'm just getting chills thinking about it. Ugh. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it wasn't like special or anything. I wanted to make it bigger, but time-wise and my own procrastination, it didn't happen like that. But if you like what you've seen in this video and what you've heard, please hit that like and subscribe buttons. Ugh, don't know why I talk like that. And you know, if you have an email, if you want to email me a story, you know, a personal experience, or you know someone who does, spread the word about my channel, and email me at huggieshauntings@gmail.com. And yeah, and if you're wondering, I know this isn't, you know, just my channel. Like, if you're wondering why, you know, I chose to have the doll set in the back. I mean, like I said, I know this isn't just my channel, it's also theirs. They're the one who makes this channel possible. Without them, it would just be me just grasping and going to probably cemeteries over and over again. And, you know, I love cemeteries as much as the next weirdo, but these dolls, you know, they kind of save me time and money. Gas is expensive right now. Anyways, if there's something that y'all would like to see on this channel, just leave it in the comments, send me an email, and yeah. But I guess I'm gonna, you know, head out and finish enjoying the rest of this Halloween. Happy Halloween to all my fellow weirdos, and remember, spread the word. Huggies Hauntings. Alright, happy Halloween, y'all. Later.